Welcome, everyone. My name is Linda Knight, and I serve as Executive Director for Health and Wellness and Director of Campus Recreation. And I'm honored to be able to talk with you all, and I will be doing this presentation with Kelly Crace, who's our Associate Vice President for Student Affairs in charge of all of Health and Wellness. Welcome, and we're really excited to have your students with us. I'm here to talk to you a little bit about our commitment to wellness and flourishing. It's an important part of William & Mary, and it's an important part of what we do. And so I'd like to go through that really quickly and just tell you a little bit about who we are and what we do and why we do it. So who is Health and Wellness? We are Campus Recreation, the Counseling Center, Health Promotion, Student Health Center, Center for Mindfulness and Authentic Excellence. And that's who falls under the umbrella of health and wellness. But our philosophy here at William & Mary is wellness is everyone's responsibility. It's the offices that help you learn how to be well, but wellness is everyone. It's you, parents, it's your responsibility. It's the students' responsibility, their professors, their roommates. Wellness can be found everywhere, and that's an important concept of what we do. Everything we run, all of our programs, all of our clinics, everything goes under one of the 8 dimensions of wellness. And those are in front of you right now, but they're all important to us. I always like to brag a little bit because campus recreation is one, by the nature of what we do, that can reach all of those 8 dimensions of wellness, because we have that physical piece where some of the other offices don't have the ability to do that. We all reach all of those dimensions, and everything you see us do under the wellness umbrella will have some affiliation with one of them. Who are we? We are the integrative health and wellness, and I think that's an important concept, and I want to read this for you because I think it's important. For a person to be well, they need to focus on all aspects of their wellness. William & Mary focuses on the 8 dimensions of wellness. Every program, treatment, or office in the health and wellness is connected to one or more of those dimensions. We have a few wellness centers on campus and wellness facilities. The B. McLeod Recreation Center, and I'll show you some information and tell you a little bit about that in a few seconds. We have the intramural fields and sport club venues. We have Tribe Adventure Program Pathways, which some of your maybe sons or daughters or students are on right now. Hopefully they're having a great time. And the McLeod Tyler Wellness Center. And you also hear us talk about McLeod and Tyler a little bit. We'll talk about a little bit more about them again in a second, but they are important people to your students' wellness and into our ability to do our jobs well. So here is the first facility. That is the Student Recreation Center, which is now called the B. McLeod Recreation Center. This is where we have 2, and I joke about this a little bit, and if you've heard me speak before, you'll always hear me say, this is kind of the building we get your heart rate up. This is where all our cardio classes are. A lot of our sport clubs work out in here. Our intramurals play in here. Students just go to do their cardio, their weight training, those kind of things. Then when we get to the McLeod Tyler Wellness Center, that's the building we get your heart rate down. We do a lot of work around yoga, meditation, mindfulness. That's where our Center for Authentic Excellence is, our health center, our counseling center. So a lot of our offices are in there. And that's the area where we really try to do some of our lower impact activities. Here are just a few of the spaces inside the B. McLeod Recreation Center. These are our cardio equipment. Some people playing court hockey, the pool. We have a pool inside. The areas that fall under campus recreation are aquatics, fitness and wellness, informal rec, intramurals, sport clubs, and the Tribe Adventure Program. Informal rec is a really big one for us because we know our students are often scheduled 24/7, and this is a time where they can just go play. They don't have to schedule it. They just come in, they pick up a basketball, they go play basketball, they go get on a piece of cardio equipment, they go play indoor soccer. It's really important that we do that and have those facilities available to students at all times. Here's just a few more pictures. These are a lot of our pictures from our Pathways programs. These are the pre-orientation trips that we send our incoming students on if they're interested in signing up for. We sent a group out today, and we have another group going out next Friday. This is the McLeod Tyler Wellness Center. This is the other facility. This is the newest of the 2 facilities, and it's an important facility for us because this is where our counseling center is housed, our health center is housed. Some of our campus recreation programs are housed, our health promotion is housed. a lot of our different programs in here, and really, really beautiful, beautiful facility. If you can see this picture in the background, it's just a gorgeous place. Another view of the same facility. This is outdoors, a labyrinth. This is a place where students just come and study. You know, at first that wasn't one of our goals, was for students to sit around and study in there. And we found it was just a happy place for students to be. They enjoyed it. They really wanted to be a part of the program. And it was a nice place for people just to come and relax. You know, it is. When I walk in that facility, I just feel like I calm down. And so it's a really neat place for our students to go hang out. One of our yoga classes. Some of our counseling spaces. So there's a counseling center. That's also one of our meditation rooms. So you'll see in here, everything was kind of intentional. If you notice that the person is sitting down in the meditation room and the window is right at her view. That was very intentional to make sure that people really understand wellness. So there's a couple of things like I've already kind of mentioned to you, but wellness is everyone's responsibility. We hope that we give you the tools, and that's our goal, is to give the students the tools to deal with wellness, and that they can find that anywhere. When they walk to class, they can stop and just look at the trees. When they're sitting in class, before it starts, they can take some time just to kind of meditate to get ready for the class. When they're in residence halls, that's a great place. So the facilities help educate you, but wellness is everywhere on campus. And this is a great example of people just kind of finding some peace and quiet where they are. The other thing that's really important for us is we'll talk a lot about, you hear a lot of people talk about work-life or school-life balance. And we know that's not a reality. As soon as we say balance, we know we've set you up for failure because nobody really finds that balance. So we always try to work towards work-life harmony or school-life harmony, where they can just find, you know, maybe during exams they spend a little bit more time studying. During the week when they don't have a lot of tests, maybe they spend more time with their friends or exercising. So we know that it's not always going to be equal, but we just hope that we can find harmony amongst that. The other thing we talk a lot about is stress. And our goal is not to get rid of stress. Stress is a healthy behavior if managed. So one of the things we work really hard on is helping our students manage stress. And that kind of leads me right into Dr. Crace's presentation around authentic excellence, because that's a great way for students to help learn how to manage their stress. Thank you, and if you have any questions when you bring your students in, please come look for me. I'm either in the rec center or the wellness center. I'll also be doing a presentation during orientation around wellness. I would love to meet you and talk with you. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda, for introducing and giving an overview of integrative wellness at William & Mary. She does such a wonderful job, and she is one of the best advocates for health and wellness among our student body. She doesn't limit it to students, but she also brings in faculty and staff because this really is a community responsibility. I really hope you take the time to get to know her during your time here at William & Mary because we see you as colleagues in this important endeavor. This is usually a really exciting day for me because I get to meet my new colleagues. I get to meet the students and the parents that are a part of this new chapter at William & Mary. All of you bring a wealth of experience, of talent, of wisdom that benefit our community. And so it's real important for us to get to know you and for us to learn from you. This is a little less exciting to come to you virtually and be able to share this information, but really I just see it as an invitation for us to get together at some point in time and meet each other and learn from each other. As Linda indicated, I'm here to talk a little bit about a specific area that's so important around the life transition of the chapter of the college years. I'm a psychologist by training, and even though I serve the needs of the health and wellness departments, my life's work for the past 35 years has been focused on how do we flourish through important life transitions. Now, flourishing is this overused term these days. It means so many different things and has so many varied interpretations. A lot of people use flourishing as a connotation of that I'm just always happy and I'm at my best all the time and I'm never affected by anything. That's not what flourishing is. When we studied flourishing, we were really looking at a deeper level of effectiveness, a deeper level of productivity, a deeper level of fulfillment, a deeper level of resilience through the hardness and harshness and sometimes unfairness of the world that we live in, sometimes the absurdity of the world that we live in. So it's not about not being affected, it's while affected, how do we manage important times in our life, such as the transition to college, in a healthy way, in a way that means something to us? And so it was interesting as we were doing this work, we learned a couple of things. Is one, that there's no natural born flourishers. People that flourish work at it. There's also no secret island of super flourishers either. People that flourish really are very intentional and mindful about it because of a couple of different reasons. One is our world doesn't foster it. Our world actually pulls us away from flourishing. And secondly, our own neurology betrays us. Our own brain will often betray us from being able to step into a deeper level of effectiveness. What I want to do today is I want to spend just a couple of minutes with sharing with you, and I hope to be able to talk with you during orientation breakouts when you come on campus to dive into this a little deeper. But I want to share with you why it's the work of flourishing, why flourishing is so hard, and why this is such an important chapter. Your adult student comes here with a lot of talent and a lot of experience and intelligence. But this is a time where they can step in and entrench certain habits that get in the way of flourishing, or it's also a time when they can break free from those habits and step into a new level of functioning. I want you to understand it and join me in this work with them. And I want to share with you a couple of things to think about in terms of strategies, this first year especially when you're working with your adult student as they make this transition. By the way, I'm going to talk about this in the context of your student, but this is a human thing. We all experience this, and the transition to college is just as important for parents as it is for students. But let me share with you, why is it so hard to flourish? What is the work of flourishing? And it's essentially why it's so hard is because of what happens in your brain once something becomes important to you. Once you decide to care about anything, something or someone, there's three unavoidable truths that you can't escape. The first is uncertainty. Truth is you never completely control everything that goes into something that matters to you. There's always a chance you could fail or lose that thing of importance. And if you did, there would be a cost. You would pay a cost in some way. You would hurt in some way by that failed or lost opportunity. We also know in today's time that when we engage in things that matter to us, we're aware that people are watching us and they're forming opinions about it. They're not neutral opinions either. And we're aware of that. Sometimes we correctly can glean what they're thinking about us, and sometimes we just perceive it a certain way that may or may not be accurate. But what we can't escape is if you dare to care, you can't escape these three things: the uncertainty, the potential cost, and the knowledge that people are evaluating us. And when those three things get activated, this is the result. We experience this notion of fear of failure. It's the part of our brain that gets activated when we're aware of two concurrent things: I care, and uncertainty about what I care about. We call it fear of failure, but people don't really describe it as fear per se. They don't say I'm afraid right now, but what they're feeling is pressure. That's what they describe feeling, as a psychological pressure to step into this thing that they're aware of the uncertainty about what they care about, which is fine. It's not a bad thing. But if you were to naturally let your brain respond the way it wants to that fear-based pressure, you'll tend to go in one of two ways. You tend to either over-control and master or avoid and escape until it has to be done. We learn that perfectionism and procrastination are the neurologically natural ways we cope with values-based fear, values-based pressure. Why? Because it works. We learn that if I can control everything or do it perfectly, I don't have to worry about failing. Or if I can sidestep this pressure until it has to be done, when it has to be done, it doesn't matter if I'm afraid. And it kicks our brain into this different gear of motivation and focus. That's why a lot of people say I work better under pressure by waiting till the last minute. You actually don't, but what you're feeling is that extra gear of motivation and focus. This is what our students have learned, because this generation of young adults has the highest incidence of fear of failure than any other generation because of something wonderful and wise about them. This generation no longer wants to succeed. They want to succeed in something that matters to them, something of meaning. But the competition for those meaningful opportunities has never been more fierce, never more fierce. And they have known this since middle school. They are the portfolio generation. They are the portfolio culture that has built this portfolio, this linear expectation that actually got them here. And this is the chapter in their life. It's the model that got them here, but this is the chapter where it can start to work against them. The fear-based model of excellence, unfortunately, is one of the reasons why we fail to flourish consistently. Because the fear-based model of excellence eventually has an increasing cost, and it starts to reach a ceiling effect. We just can't control everything all the time, or we just can't pull it off at the last minute the way we used to be able to. We start to see that it's getting in our way where we're just not functioning at the level we know we're capable of, or we're experiencing an increasing cost. I just can't stay up 3 nights in a row the way that I used to be able to. So either way, it starts to work against us. And if we don't know what is the alternative, then the only place we have to go is back up to the top, and that's what's important, and that's to start to care less. Because if I care less, I'll be less afraid. So essentially what happens is there's this triangle of languishing where we're either trying to over-control everything around us, which is characterized by chronic worry, because you're constantly having to worry about everything you got to control, or it's characterized by waiting and avoiding until the last minute, and that's characterized by chronic guilt because you feel guilty about waiting till the last minute, or you just start to care less. Apathy is not a natural human state. It's a coping mechanism. And what was the pursuit of excellence has now become the pursuit of calm. That's what gets in the way. Why does this happen now? Well, essentially what happens is the reason this gets in the way is whenever you start to lead with fear, remember the model, this fear-based model of excellence, what started with our why, with importance, has now become eclipsed with the what if. What if I fail? What if I choose wrong? What if I miss out? Whenever we start to lead with fear, we move into a place of need. And what we're needing is reassurance that everything's going to be okay. We will look for that reassurance by becoming very dependent on outcomes. How did it go today? How did it go today compared to yesterday, compared to me, compared to you? And what that does is the brain then starts keeping score and creating this chronically evaluative mindset that never completely shuts off. We're constantly evaluating. How did it go? How did it go today compared to yesterday, compared to you, compared to me? How is this going to play out tomorrow? Did you know a chronically evaluative mindset is one of the leading causes of insomnia today? To where at the end of the day, we replay this day, and we never replay that video neutrally. We always end that, punctuate that video with some kind of judgment. Usually, what do I need to do tomorrow to make up for what I didn't get done today? Instead, what we move them through is the Authentic Excellence Initiative is designed to help them break free from this very human thing that we all do, but moving from fear-based excellence to authentic excellence, to where excellence is defined at a deeper level by our own sense of authenticity, of leading with our values and holding. As Linda said, you will never hear us use the term stress reduction. We talk about stress management because stress is a function of caring. And as Linda mentioned in that, what we want people to do is to hold that in a healthy way. Well, what does that look like? Essentially what we invite all students, and I'll be speaking with your students during orientation about this program and inviting them to be a part of kind of this program at a time that feels right for them. We never make it mandatory. It's always invitational. But every year we have over 2,500 students a year engage in the program. What is it that they go through? Essentially, these are the 4 tasks. These are the 4 stages of the work that they do. It's all about paradigm shifting, getting them to think differently about things that they've thought about for most of their life and shifting that paradigm. First, we get them to think differently about their values. We have them think differently about their values as a form of deep human motivation rather than ethics or morality. But then we also get them to think differently about adult self-esteem, which is actually predicated on integrity, not how many of these I've collected or how many of these outcomes I have. It's based on how does my behavior line up with what matters to me, that pursuit of integrity. And then we get them to think differently about fear. We teach them 6 different strategies that move them from thinking about fear differently, and then we move them to advanced resilience. Our research does not support the notion that this is a fragile snowflake generation. This is a resilient generation. To manage some of the absurdities they've had to manage to get here, they are resilient. But our world is requiring more advanced resilience. And so we take this to another level of teaching them advanced resilience strategies to manage the stress of the world around them. And then we teach them how to train for flow, this deeper level of excellence. These are the paradigm shifts that we take them through and teach them through a program. And there's multiple ways that they can engage in it, through one-on-one interaction, through workshops, through online, through taking a course for academic credit. There's all different ways that they can engage in that. But essentially the invitation is this. When we ask them to think about authentic excellence, if they ever find a time individually where they want to be a little more productive, or maybe a little more fulfilled in their life, or just a little more resilient because they're going through a transition, or they're going through a string of disappointments, or they're just feeling like the demands are constantly exceeding the resources, that this is a place that they can learn and grow and develop and be supported in that process. Culturally, what we're essentially trying to do here with the Authentic Excellence Initiative and our integrative wellness model is to reduce need, is to reduce fear-based need and move more into increasing a deeper level of authenticity and integrity where they're essentially value-centered, leading with their values with a compassionate mind and heart. If you want to learn more about this, we have an open educational resource that's available for everyone, not just at William & Mary, that has all our information and research online that's free and available. And this is the nonprofit website if you'd like to go to that, to kind of explore a little bit about what we do with your students in this program. But it's also something for you to explore for yourself with this transition, for you to think about as well. Essentially, here's our contact information. Linda and I have our cell phones here for a reason. We want you to contact us. We want to get to know you in this process and learn from you about your adult student, as well as us collaborate together of helping them flourish through this important year. So I want to leave you with 3 little strategies to think about of how you can join us in this process of teaching this expressive mindset, this authentic excellence initiative, to move them from this chronically evaluative mindset to a deeply expressive mindset where the focus is on defining success by the engagement in what matters to me. The reason why that's so important is this stress glorification culture, the fear-based model of excellence, creates a competitive relationship with wellness and excellence. Because when our students hear us say, take care of yourselves, they hear it as, you're telling me to throttle back, and I can't do that out of fear. That's stress glorification. Fear-based excellence, we move it to authentic excellence because that makes wellness essential to excellence. That to the degree they spend their time at campus recreation and involved in other aspects of integrative wellness, that they see it as they are becoming even more productive and more fulfilled and more resilient. How do you join me in this work? How do you join us in this work? 3 things I want you to think a little bit about. First, whenever your student calls you and talks to you about their day, or whenever you happen to call them, whatever the regular routine is of conversation that you have with your adult student, one of the most natural things to ask is, how's it going? How'd your class go? How did your exam go? How did things go with your friends? This very loving, caring thing to ask that we all ask of our children. And yet, unintentionally, what that does is that puts them in an evaluative mindset. It starts getting them to think about, I'm reporting in. And what you may notice over time is that they report in less because that chronically evaluative mindset is just adding to a level of intensity that they don't need. Instead, I encourage you to think about in your own terms and in your own way, is to instead ask the question of, share something meaningful that you engaged in today. Share a highlight with me today that was meaningful for you. That gives them the permission and the agency to want to choose what they want to share with you. But it gives them the agency to share the full continuum. One day they may share something meaningful that was also great in terms of an outcome. But another day they may share something that was meaningful, that they didn't get a good outcome, but it was very meaningful for them to be engaged in. And then another day may be a day of heartbreak, a day of sorrow. But it's meaningful for them to talk with you about it. And having that move to a level of meaning instead of performance and outcomes changes the narrative. Second thing to think about. There's going to be a time, we hope, that they are fully engaged in this community at William and Mary. And if they are fully engaged and being courageous in their engagement, we know there are times that are going to be the best days they've ever had so far. And we also know there's going to be days of heartbreak. That's just a part of life. And on those days when they call you, and they may be in sorrow or heartbroken, the most natural thing for us as parents to do is to try to fix it, to try to use our wisdom and our experience to help shortcut this journey of sorrow that they're on. And instead, what I encourage you to do is to listen curiously, as I know you already do well, but to listen and try to seek to understand first. And then with that, ask one important question. How can I be of most support to you right now? And then be willing to be coached. Let them coach you. Because one day it may be, I just needed someone to hear. I just needed someone that knew me, that gets me, that understands me, to understand what I'm going through. Or I just needed to hear your voice. Or one day they may ask, I want your opinion. I want your ideas. And if they ask for you to solve it, come back with them with saying, instead of you need to, which is the three most natural words we say as parents, you need to do this or don't do that. Instead, be able to say, well, when I think about this, this is what comes to mind. What do you think? That starts to develop this very adult collaborative relationship with your adult student that is so important for them during this transition. And the third thing, at the end of that conversation, make sure that you tell them very explicitly that I have complete faith in your ability to get through this difficult time. It may be longer than we want it to be. It may be more bumpy than we want it to be. There's a lot of support on campus for you. Have you reached out to areas of support that might be helpful? Sometimes the most independent, self-sufficient thing you can do is to access the resources that are around you. Encourage them to think about that, but make sure they know that you have faith in them and their ability to get through it, and that you're there to support them in whatever way they deem appropriate. These are just some things to think about. Again, we look forward to seeing you during move-in day. We're hoping for good weather. Bring whatever you need to be able to sweat and have fun in that sweating. Make sure you hydrate, but we're here to help you be healthy through the process. And we look forward to getting to know you throughout the time here. Thank you so much, and please consider reaching out to me and Linda at your convenience. Take care.